to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that the United Kingdom's own unbeaten up-and-comer Ebony Jones will be facing another unbeaten up-and-comer like herself in Siam O'Toole, what is a former member of Team GB, unbeaten. How Ebony is unbeaten. Saturday, November 23rd, at the Guild Hall in Portsmouth. Ebony Jones sports a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, 1 draw, no recorded knockouts. To Siam O'Toole, who sports an unblemished record of 5 wins with no losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts also. Neither woman can be accused of being all that big a puncher, so this is likely a fight that's going to the cards. Sian is 25, whereas Ebony is 26. Both fighters are orthodox fighters. This fight is scheduled for 10 rounds in the featherweight division. Featherweight, that's where Amanda Serrano reigns as that division's only unified champion. That's where Nina Menke holds the IBF and Sky Nicholson holds the WBC. That's where this contest is taking place. Now might be a good time to campaign as a featherweight for Ebony Jones, because even though Amanda Serrano holds 2 alphabet titles there currently, she's not going to hang on to them forever. She's en route to a Katie Taylor rematch for all of Katie's belts at 140. And you figure that if she wins, why would she drop back down to 126? Sooner or later, she's going to vacate the 2 titles she's holding there, and you want to be there when that happens. So you can pick one up. Sian O'Toole saw action 2 times this year, 2 times. Once in March, then again in May, now again in November against Ebony. Ebony Jones, who's on a similar schedule, she saw action 2 times this year, once in June, then again last month. Managed by the very well-to-do Let's Go management. Seem to do a good job of keeping their fighters busy, keeping their fighters active. Now, she started out boxing under the Boxer banner on Sky Sports, a relationship that ended some fights and some months ago, so currently she's a promotional free agent. They've got to line her up for a belt, is what they've got to do. They can aim her in the direction of Nina Menke, this division's newly crowned IBF champion, or they can perhaps aim her in the direction of one of Amanda's belts, say the WBO or the WBA. Not because they expect to fight Amanda, because they expect to get the fight, but because they don't. Sooner or later, Amanda's going to drop both of those belts. You want to be in line to pick one up, so that when she does, she can become an attractive option to, say, a Nina Menke for a unification match, or a Sky Nicholson on the matchroom side of things. Once she picks up a belt, if she can, she'll become a person of interest. Right now, she's just one unbeaten up-and-comer in the featherweight division in what is a sea of unbeaten up-and-comers. Karis Ardingstall, Sophia Leash, Sarah Liegman, Elizabeth Oshoba, Tiara Brown. Even with Sky Nicholson dishing out Raven Chapman, Raven's first professional loss, there are still that many more unbeaten up-and-comers coming through in this division. Ebony Jones is one among them. Sian O'Toole is another. In terms of quality of competition, Ebony's quality of competition versus Sien's, it's really not that different. A lot of journey women and girls with upside-down records. It's because it's still very early in the both of their careers. Ebony's 6-0. Sien is 5-0. They wouldn't have fought anybody world-class yet, or any former world champions yet. They're still in that building process, that bring-along process. For Ebony and Sien, there's an argument that they will be the best fighters either fighter has ever fought in what is this battle of the unbeatens. Now, I'm already familiar with Ebony Jones and how she likes to go about fighting a fight. I haven't actually seen Sien in action, so I'm gonna have to review the tape on this fighter and see what she can do, what she brings to the table, and what her chances are against Ebony. We'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches. Men's super lightweight news. Adam Azim vows to teach Dalton Smith a lesson after bullying Ben Shalom. For those that don't already know, Adam Azim is with Boxer, Dalton Smith is with Matchroom. Adam Azim is fired back at his domestic rival Dalton Smith following his victory over O'Hara Davies at London's Kappa Box Arena. Azim produced a career-best performance to stop Davies in his biggest fight to date. Davies, now 32, was seen as a step up in class to Azim's previous opponents, which isn't saying much. And although he had suffered a stoppage loss to Ishmael Barroso, he was still considered a contender. Azim and Davies may have been opponents on fight night, but beforehand, they had been friends. After spending time in the Peacock Amateur Boxing Gym setup more than a decade ago, it's really heartbreaking, Azim told Boxing Scene following the victory.
Ahead of that fight, O'Hara Davies was quoted as saying that he had fallen out of love with boxing.
And that he is considered a step up in class for Adam Azim, a guy who fell out of love with boxing.
Well,
It's really heartbreaking, Azim told BoxingScene.com following the victory. I've got so much respect for him. He's a good friend of mine, and it's just sad that I've got to fight him. Sometimes you need to fight your friends to get to where you need to go. It's a bit like when Joshua Buatsi fought Dan Aziz. Look, I've got the job done tonight. I'm not really reminiscing about the win. I'm just happy we both got out of the fight safe. Azim seemed levels above Davies during the fight. Even though his opponent boxed at a higher level than the 22-year-old, he used his stiff jab to outbox Davies before finally finishing the job with a sharp left hook. Throughout the fight, it seemed that Adam Azim was always a step ahead of O'Hara. He was a lot faster, noticeably faster, beating him to the punch. I think I showed a side to me that you haven't seen, said Azim. I was boxing from long range, boxing from mid-range, and I was throwing inside shots as well. I know I got clipped a couple of times, and people know I can take a shot now. When I was in there, I was feeling the shots because they were quite heavy. Azim had been linked to a fight with his domestic rival, Dalton Smith, since he was ordered to defend his EBU title against the Sheffield contender. He instead relinquished his title and chose to go another route. But a fight between the pair is still being called for by many. Smith reacted to Azim's win on X, posting, Adam Azim, congrats on the win. That's what we needed. I heard Eddie Hearn and Turki El Sheikh were sat talking about some big fights for next year. Smith's post may have been respectful, but Azim was in no mood for pleasantries when he was asked about a potential clash between the two. He was angered by Smith's treatment of his promoter Ben Shalom, referring to Smith interrupting an interview with Shalom and questioning him about a fight with himself. He's already tweeted it, so I know it's playing on his mind, Azim said. I'm just sick and tired of him talking about me and him bullying my promoter. When that fight comes, I'm going to teach him a lesson. He wouldn't say it to my face.
boy, they are not making Ben Shalom's job easy, are they?
Frank Warren's got a bone to pick with him, Eddie Hearn, Dalton Smith. Everybody's got something to say about Ben Shalom. And it ain't good. Adam Azim is stepping up to defend his promoter,
Seemingly.
with these quotes from a little over a week ago. A little over a week later, Eddie Hearn talked about the fight, potential fight between Dalton Smith and Adam Azim, saying, they say, what has Dalton Smith got for us? You just fought O'Hara Davies, who got iced in one
round
by a 74-year-old Ishmael Barroso. All I know is our fighters are active. There's been plenty of boxer fighters saying, where the hell is my fight date?
To which Adam Azim responded, I am living rent-free in your head.
And so it is true that Adam Azim versus Dalton Smith is a hot ticket. It's one of the better fights you can hope to make on British soil between two unbeaten up-and-comers.
The problem.
For all of Adam Azim's talk of teaching Dalton Smith a lesson for bullying Ben Shalom, how committed is he really to that fight?
Along with all this stuff about at some point teaching Dalton Smith a lesson, Adam Azim is also saying he wants to fight for a world title next.
Dalton Smith doesn't have a world title.
I know.
Adam Azim made his ambitions clear to fight for a world title in his next bout during a recent interview with Sky Sports Boxing. Azim and his promoter, Barry McGuigan, shared details about their future plans and discussed the young boxer's progress as he aims to establish himself as one of the best in the world. McGuigan praised Azim's performance in his latest fight, mentioning in a podcast that the boxer delivered an impressive showing. On the Toe to Toe podcast, which will be available for download later today, we mentioned that we were very happy that Adam got the rounds in, McGuigan stated. Although he acknowledged that Azim could have finished the fight in the 5th round, he highlighted the value of those extra rounds. Azim's growth over the past year was also a key point in the interview. According to McGuigan, the work done with coach Shane McGuigan has been crucial in developing Azim's aggression, his ability to press forward and close the distance, and his counterpunching ability. Traditionally, he's a technical boxer with great footwork and speed, but he hits extremely hard, especially with the left hook, though his right hand is a bomb too, McGuigan explained. During the interview, Azim was asked about his immediate plans, and he responded clearly he wants to fight for the IBO title.
Who's got the IBO title?
Not Dalton Smith. There is a vacant IBO world title, and I want to target that next. Whoever they put in front of me, I'll take it, Azim declared. It's important to note that the IBO world title is not recognized as a major world title and doesn't hold as much significance as some of the other top titles. However, as of 2023, the IBO title has been unified with 3 of the 4 major governing bodies in boxing, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO, across several weight classes. The young boxer emphasized his goal of continuing to develop and taking on more significant opponents, mentioning that fights against rivals like Harlem Eubank and Dalton Smith are on the horizon, but should happen at the right time.
In other words, they ain't next.
Azim, who solidified his place as a world-level contender after his victory over O'Hara Davies, expressed his willingness to take on big fights. If I'm offered a big fight, I'll take it with both hands, he stated, emphasizing the importance of timing and making sure everything is in place, including the possibility of a pay-per-view event. For his part, Barry McGuigan stressed the importance of not rushing decisions and making sure his fighter is fully prepared to face elite competition. It's easy to make the mistake of rushing in and getting your fighter beat when he's not ready, McGuigan warned.
Oh, so he won't be teaching Dalton Smith a lesson?
I'm not saying Adam isn't ready, because he could beat guys like Liam Paro, like Jose Valenzuela, or Alberto Puello right now, but we still think he's developing. It's better to make those fights when it's the natural next step.
I can't reconcile that. Where do you get that your fighter's ready for the world champions in this division, but he's holding off on fighting the domestic level guys, his domestic rival in Dalton Smith? If you think he's ready for Liam, there's no need to wait for Dalton.
Could take that guy on straight away, and we know there's money in it. We know you can sell it, so get to it.
They won't.
Now, least of all, that one of Ben Shalom's prized stallions in Frazier Clark has suffered his first professional loss by way of a first-round knockout in the Fabio Wortley rematch. He's going to be extra careful now, extra protective of what he's got. Don't expect to see Adam teach Dalton a lesson anytime soon.
If ever.
It is what you expect it to be, and it's obvious that Ben Shalom is going to clutch at his pearls and protect his assets even further. So for all of Adam's talk of teaching Dalton a lesson? Sure, Adam. Whatever you say.
You can beat Bado and you can beat Puello, but you want to hold off on fighting Dalton.
It's all about timing. And finally, a quote from Eddie Hearn after yesterday's Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis super lightweight contest. I'd love to bring Teofimo Lopez to Manchester and give him a good ass kicking. Eddie Hearn wants Teofimo Lopez versus Jack Catterall, and Jack seems to want it too.
Jack wants a big fight.
Though he may not get it, not with Teofimo, for a good number of reasons. That Teofimo's with Top Rank, and Jack is with Matchroom. That Teofimo is in the middle of a legal skirmish with Top Rank, trying to achieve free agency.
And even if he got it, that doesn't mean he'd go to Manchester for Jack Catterall. What would that cost Eddie Hearn?
To get Teofimo on a plane, to go to Manchester, to fight Jack Catterall, how much money would you have to spend? More than I think Eddie Hearn is willing to, in tandem with Teofimo not liking Eddie that much anyway. Ever since he lost to George Kambosos, he's been holding Matchroom responsible for the loss.
He's acting like they set him up.
If they fought, I think Jack Catterall would give Teofimo Lopez many of the same issues, the same problems he gave Regis Prograis yesterday. You could give Jack very good odds to win that fight if it were in Manchester, but it's not gonna be. That fight's not gonna happen.
You think Jack Catterall would beat Teofimo?
How is that a hot take? George Kambosos already beat Teofimo, and Teofimo's lackluster performances are starting to outnumber his signature performances as good ones.
He's only got two, the Lomachenko fight and the Taylor fight.
More often than not, Teofimo looks lackluster. He looks bad. He looked bad with Sandor Martin, again with Jermaine Ortiz, then again with Steve Claggett, and of course, the infamous George Cambodia fight. So Jack Catterall beating him, having the right style to do it? I don't think that's a hot take, but I don't think that fight's going to happen anyway.
Nope.
I don't even know that Teofimo is staying at 140 pounds. He might not, and if he doesn't, the WBO title might go vacant. Now, via the WBO's ranked standings, Jack Catterall was ranked at number 2 as of last month. Based on yesterday's contest, he may ascend to the number 1 spot. He might, ahead of Arnold Barboza, but there's a problem.
What?
Not only is Arnold Barboza a Golden Boy Promotions fighter, but we know that Oscar De La Hoya is not going to do any of Eddie's fighters any favors.
That's one.
And Arnold Barboza is fighting the number 4 ranked Jose Ramirez very soon.
That's two.
So it's conceivable that the winner of that fight, whoever it is, may be elevated to full mandatory status straight away and become the mandatory challenger for the WBO title, all without fighting Jack.
That's one way the WBO could do this thing.
They could do it that way, or they could order a fight between Jack Catterall and the winner of that fight, but simply ordering it, doesn't guarantee it happens.
So that's the catch-22 with going the WBO route.
Now, very soon, Matchroom has an in-house fight, an in-house affair with reigning IBF champion Liam Paro and Richardson Richens. You figure that whoever wins that fight, maybe Jack will fight that guy.
For the IBF.
But there's still a catch-22. There's still a caveat. To my knowledge, the WBO doesn't have a second day weigh-in like the IBF. They don't have a 10-pound rehydration cap for all of their fights. To my knowledge, the IBF does.
I just wonder, do we get the same Jack if he goes the IBF route and he's subject to that second day weigh-in, that rehydration cap? Can he stay in character?
It's what separates the IBF from everybody else, the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. That second day weigh-in, people often wonder, why aren't the IBF's ranked standings populated with more familiar names? I'd wager that second day weigh-in is why.
It's hard enough to make weight without having to deal with that.
So you know. The winner of Liam Paro versus Richardson Richens is an option, but Jack Catterall would be subject to that second day weigh-in. And I feel like that matters. If nothing else, I think we can all agree that Jack deserves to fight for a title, whether it's the WBO or the IBF or somebody else's belt. He's earned a shot. He deserves one.
It's just a question of which title is he going to fight for.
And his chances of victory are conditional, contingent upon who he ends up fighting, whether he goes the IBF route, the WBO route, or some other route.
He looked good yesterday.
Let's see if he can keep looking good next year.